All right, I think we're finally ready to get started here. Apologies for the audio issues. It's always fun getting everything in line. Okay, but we're ready to get started. Pull this up. 1 second. Okay, here we go. All right, as Dave mentioned, I'm Michelle Buggy. I'm a senior project manager here at Strava, and I'm excited to share today's training with you is getting started with Power BI. Just a few housekeeping notes. All attendees are muted to minimize background noise. You can use the Ask the Question widget for questions or comments, and the content is displayed in the center area. You can resize or maximize the content widget. Also, just wanted to mention too that there is an additional widget in the bottom that has some links that we're going to mention as well that will be helpful for us. Okay. So here's our agenda for today. We're going to do an overview of Power BI, just kind of an overview of what the product is. And we're going to address the differences between desktop and online, because there definitely are some unique differences that it's important to know, as well as the different types of licensing options. We are also going to cover how to install and download Power BI desktop and also how to access it online, and as well as how to connect the Power BI desktop to your CRM, whether it be Dynamics or Power CRM. We'll also talk about how to create your first report, and we're going to take a look at a sample Power BI report that's really robust regarding on sales pipeline that's going to give you a really good understanding of the capabilities of this tool. So I just wanted to mention that it's helpful but not required. A couple of prerequisites is the Dynamics 365 Advanced Find and Database Schema training. And that's really important for kind of if you're going to be a super user in Power BI. We would recommend that you take that training because it can really give you a good foundation for some of the concepts and things that are within the Power BI tool. And obviously, you want to have an understanding of how your Dynamics 365 or Power CRM database works as well. Okay, so let's get into the presentation a little bit. So what is Power BI? So, most of you have heard the name before and no idea what it is. But basically, it is a business intelligence tool. And honestly, it is one of the most amazing technology tools out there because, it's crazy what it can do. And the unique part about it is that with a little bit of training and some understanding of basic concepts, pretty much anyone can get in there and start building reports, which makes it really accessible to the person that maybe is not a tech head. So it's important to mention, too, that Power BI is part of the Power Platform, as is all the other 365 tools like Power CRM, like Dynamics. And what's nice about it, too, is that within the platform of Power BI, the tool, there's connectors to hundreds of software applications that are pre-built. So for example, if you're looking to get reports regarding QuickBooks or something else out there, there could be a connector that already builds it that connects you to the that data source and even gives you reports that are already complete, and you just make a couple slight adjustments and it'll give you what you need. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, of how to view those pre-built connectors that are out there. And obviously, the biggest reason that people use Power BI is to develop reports and dashboards that give you really helpful insights that you wouldn't necessarily get otherwise in your to your business data. Okay, so there's 3 applications within the Power BI tool that we want to cover. First is the the desktop that we'll go into, and the online, which we'll go into because they're a little bit more involved. The mobile, we just want to point out that there is a mobile option to view or share, reports and dashboards on a mobile device. And just the important thing to note there is that if you do want that option, that you'll just have to build the report. When you're building the report, there's an option that you'll need to also build it for mobile. So that's just something to keep in mind. But the real focus for today is we're going to talk about the differences between the desktop and online. So Power BI desktop, here's the link if you want to install it in your PC, and we're going to talk a little bit more how to do that later. But this is used for developing reports and dashboards. And Power BI Online is more, and then you publish the reports to Power BI Online. So there is no charge to download Power BI. And the desktop version is where you'll be using to create everything. So that's kind of where you develop your reports, and all that is in the desktop version. The online version is where you're going to be using it to actually share and publish and view your reports, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So, this online service of Power BI is complementary to the desktop, where, again, the desktop is where you're building, and then the online is kind of where you share and view. There's not a whole lot of ability to do a lot of modifications and things like that on online. You might be able to filter or something like that, but you're not going to build a robust report in the online version. You're going to do that in the desktop version. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the licensing. So licensing can get a little bit complicated, and it changes a bit over time. Microsoft tends to do that, where they change their licensing. But the latest situation with it is that there is two different ways to think of it. There's the free version, and then there's paid options. So the free version is available to everyone, even if you don't have Office 365. But with the free version, you can only access content you create and or content shared to you by a pro user. So you cannot share content in the free version. And that's the biggest limitation. With the pro option, which is the lowest paid version at $10 a user a month, which is pretty reasonable, you can create and share content, and then the free users can see that. So you can, for some companies, you can probably get away with just having pro users that are doing the developing, and then they share it, to free users if they just need to view. The only time that really becomes an issue, and it can be in a lot of companies pretty quickly, is if you want to share that dashboard or report in Dynamics or Power CRM. You have your dashboard, some might be Power BI, some might be just out of the box that you create in Dynamics or Power CRM. And unfortunately, with the free license, those wouldn't show for that user. They would actually have to go and log into Power BI Online, and that'd be pretty cumbersome rather than having the report just show up in their dashboard in their CRM. So that's one of the big differences we want to mention there. So once you create a report, you typically want to share it, as I mentioned, and you always want to publish them and show them the user. So you do that on the online version. So talking about the paid a little bit. So we've got the Pro, which is $10 a month. One thing we did want to point out is that the Pro license is included in the Microsoft 365 E5 license. So if you have that license already at your company, that person has that license, then they will automatically get the Pro version of Power BI. You also can create subscriptions and alerts, which you can't do in the free versions. And the other key item is that you can embed visualization into the app. There's also a premium version at $20 per user per month, and we're going to go a little bit into the difference between the two paid. So this really is just to give you an idea of the free versus pro or premium. So talking about the two paid versions of licensing. So we have the pro and we've got the premium, so $10, $20. The one main issue is, the difference here is the data model size limits. For example, if you connected to Power BI Desktop to your CRM data, depending on how many tables you select and how much data is in those tables, then the data model can easily be larger than 1 gigabyte. And, you can control this by limiting the data using transformation, which we'll mention a little bit later today and also cover in depth in a level 2 training. But that is something to be mindful of, is the model size limit. And we're going to talk about another way using a direct query instead of import option to also make sure that you stay within that limit. So Pro, for a lot of people, can be a very usable license, and you don't always necessarily need that premium. The other key difference between the Pro license and the premium license is the refresh rate. So the refresh rate is how many times per day the data can be refreshed. So if you need to refresh the data every hour or something like that very frequently, you're probably going to need the premium license in that circumstance. So we wanted to, a lot of people have Power BI and they might not know what kind of license you have. So if you want to know what kind of license you have, whether it's free, pro, or premium, you can log into Power BI, and the link is in the widget below. And you can kind of see where, you have what license you have by clicking on your avatar, and you can see what you have. And you can obviously want to try out a free pro license, as a follow-up to today's training. Again, our goal today is to give you all the information so that when you end today's training, you can jump in and download a free trial if you're not already a pro user and start using Power BI following today's session. And obviously, if you'd like to get started a little bit earlier and log in and do it now, you're more than welcome. Again, there's the widget with the easy way to click the link. So you either want to copy that link or just make a note of it. And again, you get a free trial for 30 days if you don't have one currently of the Pro. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the different main types of reports. You hear the word reports, dashboards, what are the differences, templates, things like that. So we're going to talk about them even though the differences, even though they might look the same. So let's start off with apps or applications. Apps are pre-built reports or templates that are typically built by Microsoft partners like Strava. And if we want to sell those reports, the best way for us to do that is to develop an app out of the report or dashboard. And it's typically built on specific applications or data sources like QuickBooks or Dynamics or Power CRM. And it's usually specific to one application or one underlying data source. If you want data from two sources like Dynamics or Power CRM and QuickBooks, you would typically go into the desktop and build your own. And, the other thing we wanted to note is that the Power BI apps are generally not customizable. You can use things like filters and to change information, but that's not really truly customizable. Most reports or templates within an app are not able to be downloaded into a PBIX file that what you would want to use in the Power BI desktop. So they're definitely helpful in getting you some quick information, some standard information, but they do have some limitations. So where do you get Power BI apps? You can get it right in the Microsoft App Source. And if you're not familiar with Microsoft App Source, it is the Microsoft version of their App Store. The App Source not only contains Power BI apps, but also a lot of different apps. So applications for Dynamics or Power CRM. Some are free, some are an additional cost. But you can also find Power BI apps available as well. And you can get these right through Power BI Online. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, how to do that. It's a really easy way to get them. And we'll show you how to explain how to do that as well. So that covers apps. Let's talk a little bit about templates. So a template is basically a report or dashboard that does not contain any data. Kind of think about it like this. You're developing a Power BI report or dashboard in the Power BI desktop application. And then you think, this is a great dashboard or report that I want to distribute to other people at my company. Or where it's more important is that maybe you want to send this externally to another company or another division. If you don't take very specific steps when you send that report file with the data that was in it as of the last time you generated the report, it will still contain that information, and you might not want them to necessarily see that. So, again, it could sometimes be within your company, but generally people, might want to share information outside your company, and you want to take great care in that. So to make sure that report that you want to share ends up being a template, but that does not contain the data, you build the report or dashboard in the desktop version, again, because remember we create everything in the desktop version. And you do it as a standard report or dashboard, and then you do a file save as, and you have the option there for a Power BI template. And typically when you open a template, it's going to have prompts, what's called parameters. It's a really powerful feature that we'll cover in the Level 2 training. And those parameters are used to set things like the URL of your Dynamics or Power CRM environment. Other things that it may prompt you for in the parameters are date ranges and things along those lines, things you need to input to tell the template what data to extract and load from the source system. So I know that's quite a bit to take in, and I just want to remind you guys, if you have any questions, to please, put them in the Q&A widget, and we can address them, either as we go, Dave will jump in, or we can, of course, address them at the end. Alrighty, so lastly, we've got reports. Reports and dashboards are categorized together as reports. You create a report in Power BI Desktop and then publish it online. The file type of a report is PBIX. So when you're looking at files, it gives you an idea of what it looks like. You know what I mean? When you're looking in your file. So it's just a handy tip to have. So as we mentioned before, there's tons of different Power BI apps that you can access, and a super easy way to find them is if you log into Power BI online on the home page, you can click Get Data in the lower right and then select Services, and then it'll be automatically filtered to the apps that are specific to that are appropriate for Power BI. And then you can search within there as well. So it's just a quick tip for you if you're looking for connectors, because there is tons, dozens and dozens and dozens of them. All right, so let's kind of get into, what you need to do to kind of start building a report. So first, you would obviously need to install the Power BI Desktop. So the easiest way to access it's via a URL. Again, it's in the widget below. So you'd want to go to that URL. Oh, I'm stuck. There we go. And then obviously you're going to download it and install, and then you're going to open the Power BI Desktop, and you'll get a screen that looks like this. And the next step is to click on Data. And I wanted to point out here, when you go to this screen, the videos here are super helpful. Highly recommend. They're really short. They get to the point, and obviously they could be a great refresh for you if it's been a couple weeks since this presentation and you don't start working on this for a while and you just want to get a little refresh. They can be really helpful. So you're going to click Get Data, and then from there, the most common data sources will be displayed for you. And, we want to mention, one thing here that's really important is that, in addition, you can obviously we're going to talk about connecting your CRM, data to Power BI, but you really should consider a lot of people, everybody still works in spreadsheets. We all do it. But if you connect your Excel file to Power BI, you can do some really powerful things as far as visual presentations that will blow people away. And it's relatively easy to do. So that would be something too, as a kind of a quick tip to try sometime, is taking an Excel file maybe that you work in all the time and giving that a shot as well to use with Power BI, because as I mentioned, it can create some really great visuals for you. So again, this is going to display your most common data sources here, whether it's workbook or some other items. But we are going to be looking for the Power CRM or Dynamics data source, right? So for that, both of those are part of the Power Platform. So you're going to click on that folder, and then you're going to select the Dataverse, right? Because that's what we live and breathe, is our Dataverse within Microsoft. So you're going to click Connect. And just a quick note, if you're not already logged into Office 365 when you're doing this, you will need to log in using your user ID and password you use to access your CRM system. Okay, so that's just something to point out. You might get this message here. So once you're logged in, you want to click to connect. Oops, stuck. There we go. And now you'll see all the environments in your tenant. So it's very likely that you'll have more than one. A lot of our folks, customers, will have a sandbox or development environment as well as your production. So you want to make sure you select your right environment, and that typically would be your production environment for CRM. So after you make that selection, you're going to expand the environment by selecting the icon next to the environment. And so now you'll see all of your tables that are within your CRM, like accounts, contacts, activities, opportunities, whatever the case may be, whatever is in your data system. So those are all your different tables. And you're going to want to select the tables you want to pull data from. You don't want to typically pull all of, you don't want to create a report that covers everything, right? Because you think about it, you're going to have to import all that data in, which would take forever. and you just won't have that necessarily that capability. So you want to pick and choose what you're looking to do. Are you looking to look at sales, by customer, things like that? So you just pick the tables that would be applying to your situation that you want to create a report on. So in this situation, I think we're going to talk about accounts. So you can, just another quick note, we're going to choose accounts, but you can use the search function because a lot of folks have tons of tables. You can use that to find the ones that you're looking for. So in this scenario, we're going to only select accounts and contacts. So you can see the checks there. And when you select that, you will see a preview of the data on the right in a pane. Sometimes the preview is truncated if you've got a lot of data. If it's a short Excel file, I believe typically it shows, again, if you've got a crazy large Excel file, it might be truncated as well, but you can kind of get an idea of what you're looking for. But you know what your accounts table is, so it should not be any question there. Okay, so we talked a little bit earlier about data transformation and data sets. So again, with the idea of making the report doable and not being so large, you can limit the size of your data set system using data transformation. And data transformation allows you to set limits on the data that is pulled from the table. So for example, if you only wanted accounts created in the last 3 months, you can also do things like, if you've got like a weird kind of like odd internal name for a field that you want to change and you just want to do it, you can just do it right then and there in the data transformation table. There's a lot of things you can do to make the end result a little bit more visually appealing and a little bit more easy to understand. And we'll get into that a lot more in the Power BI level training too. So next, after we've got our what we're looking to do, which is accounts and contacts, and we've previewed them, we've transformed our data, did any adjustments we need to do there, we're going to hit the load button to load the data. So here, we have the option to import, to get data into our system 2 different ways, import or direct query. So there's a couple differences that are really important to point out. If you import, it brings the data into Power BI and saves the data with the report you create. So the data is with the report. With direct query, no data is imported or copied into Power BI desktop. And direct query lets you build visualizations over very large data sets where it would be otherwise unfeasible to first import all the data. So, the most important part of all of this is that 1 gigabit data set limitation on the licensing. Remember, we talked about it's only 1 gigabyte for the Pro, doesn't apply when you use direct query. So, I think a lot of the time you're probably going to want to use the direct query option for that reason, and also for the reasons, previously just mentioned a moment ago. Okay, so that's just one to remember as well. So we're going to make our selection here. And in this situation, when we've got a really small data set, because it's an example. So in this scenario that we've, laid out here, we're just going to import the data. And that brings us, now that our data is imported, you can see it right over to the right where it's marked data. You can see our 2 tables of accounts and contacts. So the kind of report builder is divided into 4 areas. You have kind of the white blank area, which is your design canvas. You have your, to the right of that, some filters, which will come into play, once you start adding some data to the visuals. And you have your visualization. So that's kind of what you want the report to look like. Do you want a pie chart versus a bar chart? That type of thing is what would be the visuals. And then, of course, we've got our data, which is our fields and tables. So, how do we get the information from, to start making this report? So what you do is you would, open up your accounts table or whatever table that you have or contacts, and you select the field you want to make a report about. So this one, we want to maybe talk about, do something with like account names. So we just select, we want all of our account information. So we're going to pick account, not all our account information. We want to to create a report regarding our accounts, our customer accounts. So we're going to select account name. We're going to simply drag that to the canvas. And then say we want to look to see like where they're located. So we want to do a visual of that, of where our accounts are located. So then we choose state from the accounts table as well. And then for this, we want to show accounts by state. So we do, I think that was like kind of overlap there a little bit in the visual, but we want to drag the state field to a blank area of the canvas, and that's going to create us give us a new visual of just the states, like a map visual, as compared to just a list on the left. And then we're going to, we have the options here to change the visuals from a map to a bar chart. That's what we've done here. You can also drag the state field to the x-axis to show that you want it to be on the x versus the y. So you can see the different states on the left-hand side going vertically, and then you have the addresses of the counts left to right. Again, it's the best option is just to take some simple data from your own CRM and start playing around and getting a feel for the system. I mean, that's really honestly hands-on is the best way to do it. And hopefully after today, you've gotten some basics, and see how really simple it is to do once you've got a few things nailed down. Okay, so that gives you an idea of the visual. Again, if anybody has any questions about the visuals, please let us know. I just want to pop back to that. So again, you can check different visualizations if you want different views, things like that. So again, the best thing to do is just jump in there. All right. So the other thing we wanted to share with you today, since this is a very simple, basic report, we want to talk about some of the more robust capabilities of Power BI. And with that, we want to share a sample Power BI report with you regarding sales, some sample sales pipeline data, okay? So you'll see this widget in your screen, and you want to, probably download this link, once you have your Power BI all installed and you're ready to use it, but just make a note of this link because it'll be helpful to kind of really explore what a robust report can do. So the data in this report came from a CRM training system we developed. It's a really helpful resource to see how the capabilities of Power BI are and kind of examine how the visuals were created. So, you can see that there's different tabs along the bottom there, left to right. You see overview, win-loss ratio, industries, things like that. So, out of the box, you can see like how complex this report is with all these different tabs and visuals. So on the overview tab, which is what we're looking on the screen right here, you take a look at the different visuals you see. The product forecast visual that's on the right, that's highlighted in a red box there. This is an example, of how you can set colors based on the data. So you can see here, the forecast is certain numbers. You're green at 261, but you're red at the other numbers. So great visually way to kind of give some insights to what's going on with your data. On the next tab over, the win-loss ratio, you can see, again, great information here, nice visual, really easy to read. You can see more examples of conditional colors for the close percentages. And one of the really cool things here is the smart narrative that we have. And that is an artificial intelligence feature that takes a look at your data and automatically creates narratives to explain the data. So for example, and I don't know if you guys can read it, hopefully you're on a big enough screen where you can, but you'll obviously have a copy of this presentation and access to the recording following. But it says something like, at 51.4%, January 2022 had the highest close percentage and was 51.4% higher than January 2022. I think our data is a little messy, but because it's a demo system. But, that gives you an idea of what the narrative would put forth. pretty cool stuff. On the Trends and Analytics tab here, there's some line charts that are really helpful to kind of see what trends are doing like over a larger period of time, whether it's a few months or it could be years, whatever, depending on your business model and what data you want to take a look at. These can be super helpful to see how your pipeline has trended over a period of time. And finally, you have the Insights tab, or I think there's maybe one more. The Insights tab that shows the Q&A capability where report viewers can ask questions about data in plain English, and Power BI will answer. So this is really good. So people that are not tech savvy, there's no excuse why you can't get some information, right? You simply go to the box at the top and you put in your question. You can ask the question like, what is the count of lost opportunities by month as a line chart? And boom, it pops it out for you. So really cool feature. Again, really robust reports, nice features. When you share this with folks that are not, as tech savvy, it gives them an ability to kind of jump in there and explore information as well. We have another example of the Q&A capability. And that's when we asked if we changed the count of lost category by month as a table. So we did this. What is the count of lost by month as a table? And that gives us a different view of another question answered of the same information, displaying it different ways. Another example is we changed the question to what is the count of lost opportunities by month as a bar chart? So again, another way to display information. Depending on your business needs, you might have a different preference. Really easy, really cool. You don't have to drag and drop anything for once, right? It's just ask a question and boom, there it is. So I encourage you to explore this sample report as you really can learn the capabilities of Power BI and dig into, how these visuals were created. Really, really interesting. It's really not that hard. I'm not a Power BI expert by any means, but with a little bit of training and starting to dig in there and explore the product, I've really got the ability to create some really cool reports, and it's been super helpful for getting some useful insights. I'd also wanted to mention that Strava also offers Power BI report development to provide the reports you need without spending the time to learn Power BI. If you have a need where you just want a report built for you, or you don't want to take the time, or you don't have the staff to build that customized report for you, we're happy to do that for you as well. So you can always keep that in mind. So that concludes kind of what I had prepared. I know this was like a little bit briefer of a presentation. I don't know if we have any questions, or Dave, as our head guru, do you have anything that you want to add that maybe I didn't cover?
I always want to jump in. So definitely have a little bit of time here, and I thought maybe we would take advantage of that time and go into some other areas here in that sample report. Let me just make sure that I'm seeing everything right. It looks like my screen is flickering crazily. And I just want to let Dave know
I can't hear him. So.
I know you can't, because it's your PC speakers are on a different source. That's okay. I'm sure that the audience here can hear me. And if you can't, just chime in here via chat. Just give me a minute to try and straighten out my screen here, and we'll get back into the presentation. Okay, so I'm not sure why my screen is flickering uncontrollably here. Let me just stop my screen share. Again, Murphy's Law, technology live presentations always seem to be problematic at some point. So let me just try and fix that really quickly, and won't take too much of your time if we can't get that resolved. Just 1 second. Okay. So it looks like it's gone back to the standard interface. Let me try and share one more time. See if we can be flicker free. And I've got some other things to show. And if not, we'll put them in a video and put them up on the LevelUP e-learning site. So far, so good. It's not flickering on my side. So I think I can continue on here. So there were a couple questions that I wanted to go back to, and great presentation, Michelle. Thanks for putting all that together and delivering that, some really good information. As I said, the presentation, the video with audio will be uploaded to our LevelUP e-learning hub that all of our monthly support agreement customers have full unlimited access to. So you have the complete audio video recording to refer back to. And we'll get that up there within about 24 hours, and we'll send out an email once it's up there. So, but a question, do you have to buy Power BI Desktop? Good question. You do not. It is no charge. One of the few things in life that's free, I guess, that's super, super, super valuable, but it is kind of free like a puppy dog. Ever hear that term, free like a puppy dog? You give you a puppy dog and it's free, but you're going to spend a lot of money on care and feeding and vet bills, right? That's I always like that saying. And what I mean by that is that Power BI Desktop is not going to be super valuable if your intention is to develop reports or dashboards and share them, right? Because without licensing, as Michelle covered, you have limited capabilities when you have a free version on what data you're able to consume, and the person that's sharing it has to be a licensed Power BI user. So there goes the free like a puppy dog, right? I have to say, though, that all of the technology that's out there, Microsoft as well as lots of other companies and their technology, for $10 a user a month, I'm just still astounded by the low price of this product. For what it is and what it does, if you remember back to the days of Crystal Reports, I think I heard shrieking, even though there's no audio, all the way over here in New Jersey. From those that probably have used Crystal Reports in the past, you needed a doctorate in Crystal Reports to go develop stuff, and it was kind of clunky, and there was a large cost to it, right? So for $10 user a month, you can get into the paid pro version and do most of the stuff that we're going to look at today, or we have looked at. So anyway, a couple of things I want to show you here in the report, since we've got some time, is as you're looking at this report, and again, your copy of this is in a link on the widget that's behind the live content here. So just to the left bottom, you'll see the word links, and down there, if you click on that widget, you'll be able to click a link and get a copy of this amazing Power BI report that we have here with all this sample data. Okay, and one of the great things you can do with this is examine not just the capabilities. I think that's super helpful that, when you build your report, you can come here and say, I really want a trend analysis like is in that sample report that those great folks at Strava gave us a complete free sample of, and it's this line chart. I want that, right? So it's good for getting some ideas and how you might want your data to look. Also, you're able to then go examine how different charts in that and visuals were put together. So if you notice here, these little squares are called KPIs, and these are really, really helpful for a number of different reasons. If you're on the paid license, here's the free puppy dog again. When you publish this to Power BI Online, the folks that you share this with can go into the Power BI Online version of this report, and they can click to set an alert on any of these KPIs. And that's unique to a KPI visual. KPI visual, if you just hover over here, you'll find it right up in here somewhere. I'll find it right there. It's called a card, actually. And then there's a multi-row, and then here's your KPI. So they're kind of all three the same. Actually, I don't know which one this is. Let's take a look. It is an actual KPI. So notice that when you highlight a visual, over here it tells you what kind of visual it is. Okay, whether it's a chart, graph, a table, etc. So that's a good tip for you as well. But these KPIs, these are awesome because, again, users that have a paid license, it's a feature of only the pro or above, is that they can just click on the three dots on the online version of this report, set an alert, which then has thresholds that you set. So alert me if this number is above or below certain number or certain percentage, et cetera. And a great example of that I always like to give is around sales pipeline. Okay. And I know that we have some folks on the session here that aren't a sales-driven organization. However, a non-profit organization, right? You still have numbers that you have to hit, right? So rename the opportunity entity to donations. I'm sure you've probably already done that. You guys know who I'm talking about. Thanks for joining again. Anyway, this number could be just the amount of dollars, right? That's a goal, whether it's donations, it's sales, whatever. The sales metric around this that's been, used for a lot of years is that whatever your goal is, you want your pipeline to be 3 to 5 times that goal. Okay, so if my goal in sales this year is $1 million, then my pipeline absolutely has to be 3 to 5 million every day I look at it. Okay. Why is that? Well, there's fallout, right? And that's just been the number that's been used over a lot of years. Now, your business may be a little bit different here and there, but generally I found that to be exceptionally true. So you could easily create a little KPI tile here by going over to opportunities, going down to the estimated revenue field, which I'm doing this on the fly here. So forgive me if it takes me a minute to hunt and peck around this big data model. You could drag over then those dollars, and let's see this. This is revenue 1. Notice also that when you highlight a visual, if you scroll down over here, it shows you the fields that are contained in that visual. Another great feature. See that? So here's our qualified pipeline. And that's kind of what I was getting to is pulling over, what your current pipeline or sales opportunity dollars that are open are, right? And that's what you want to be the 3 to 5 times your goal. You could create another KPI here for your goal number, and then you could easily compare the two right on the screen. Okay. What else could we do with that Michelle talked about? We could have a conditional color on that. So if I highlight this, and again, I'm doing this on the fly, folks, so forgive me if we have Murphy's Law come out again, but you can do the conditional formatting of these two. Let's say if it's below a certain value, green, and maybe if it's, below a certain value would be yellow or red. And if it's above a certain value, maybe you want to turn it green. So you can just come over here into the visualizations properties, right? So normally you're going to see it like this, where your visualization selections are here. If you click on this formatting, when you come over here, now you've got the ability to control all the formatting around this. And one of the formatting options then is the color, right? So if I expand the callout value, I can go down, and right now it says it's a black font, right? Let's say we want to make that conditional. This is really easy, guys. Lots of YouTube videos on this stuff as well. So, and of course, we're here to support you in addition, right? So let's go in and let's say we want maybe rules around this, and we want to base the rule on the opportunity, and that field was revenue in pipeline. So let's find that if that's an option here. There we go. And then down here you set your rules, right? So if it's greater than or equal to, let's say 1, just to make it really simple, right? But less than, let's say 10,000, we want to set that as a red number. All right, let's go down here. Maybe we'll choose a red number. Okay, and now let's add another rule so we get something, because that number was 27,000, I believe, or something like that. So let's go in here and say if it is less than or equal to here, right? We're going to pick up here from 10,000. So what we'll do is we'll do 10,001, right? And then we'll come over here and we'll say less than $1 million. And we'll say we want that yellow for caution. Okay, so do that. Hit OK. And I must not have done something right there because it's not changing color. Now, there could be other issues here, like I might have to reset it. Let's see if it takes a regular command color change here. There we go. So let's do back to black. Let's go into our, yeah, and we'll just do a gradient maybe in this case, just for expediency again, doing this on the fly here. But you get the idea. is that you can go into these charts, these visuals they're called, and you can set conditional formatting on the color. I find that tremendously useful, and anybody that's on my team that's on the phone will remember what I'm going to talk about, which is when we took all our reports and we made it a red, yellow, green perspective. Literally all of our management reports, they come out from Power BI automatically, which is another version of the another feature of the paid version, is you can go in and tell reports to go to people on a schedule. Monday and Friday, we get our management reports. And we took all those reports and we made them all in the perspective of red, yellow, green. And it revolutionized the way that we're looking at our numbers. And we have not missed a number, knock on my wood desk here, we have not missed a target number since the day those reports were launched. Think about that. I'm not exaggerating. Anybody on the session area, again, you guys don't have audio. I know Tony's probably jumping up and down. I see him on the session because he's helped champion that as well. And Paula has, all of us, our management team really rallied around that perspective of red, yellow, green, and we have not missed a number since then. Amazing. So again, you can come in here and fool around with this. And sorry, I couldn't get that initial example to work. There's probably something behind it that's hard coding it, but you get the idea. So I wanted to throw just a couple of other things in there. We have some other questions also as we go through. I want to cover one or two other things before we get there, though. When you're looking at a page of your dashboard or your report, dashboards and reports are a little different, but it only really applies when you're in Power BI Online. Everything in Power BI Desktop is called a report. Okay, it's a little confusing. It took me quite a while, actually, to get my brain around when you go into Power BI Online, what's the difference between a dashboard and a report? We'll cover that in a level 2 training. Everything in Power BI Desktop's a report. Wherever you see selectors, right, you can drop those down and you can select, and the whole page, depending on how it's configured, will react to that. So let's say Midwest. And now look at all the numbers just reacted, right? Now if I add Northeast, numbers react, right? You can do a control click if that option was enabled in this report, and I can add 2. So that's a secret that people usually have to go search Google for, is how do you select 2? You do a control. Okay, so we'll get rid of that. Other items here for selectors is that whenever you're looking at a page of data, let me go back to maybe the win-loss ratio here. Yep. Down here is our list of account managers, right? Now watch when I select just Eric. See how the whole page just reacted to only Eric's data, and all the others are grayed out, right? Now, if I choose Jeff, the whole page reacts again. Those are called selectors or slicers. They're really good. You can also drag over a slicer over here. We could just go on and on. I could talk about Power BI for days. So I know we're coming up against time, and I want to get to the couple questions here. But slicer is a way that you can give the report viewer a way to interact and choose how the data is going to be sliced, like by account manager, by region, things like that. Okay, better stop here because everybody in my team knows I'll just continue on, and I'll have you guys here at 7 o'clock tonight, still talking about Power BI. And I know everybody probably has lots of work to do, so we're going to start to wrap up. Another question that came in was, does the Power BI template that Michelle talked about contain connector data? And I believe what's being asked there, excuse me, is Michelle referred to, if I took this report file and I wanted to distribute it with no data, right? Maybe I don't want the people I'm going to send it to see all of the data that's in here, because security, unlike in CRM, is not automatically respected here. So if I sent this report to, let's say, Michelle, and Michelle was only allowed to see her own opportunities, she would see every opportunity in here. Okay, so that's really important. You have to use something called row-level security, which we've done some training on just recently. And if you'd like that training, absolutely reach out to your account manager. We can get that arranged for you. But anyway, back to the topic here. If I wanted to distribute this without worrying about the data and not containing the data, I would go in here and I would do a save as, and then I would choose a template rather than the PBIX. PBIX is a report, PBIT is a template. Now, when I save that, and let me just do it to my desktop here really quickly. So I just saved that and hit OK. And now I will go out and open that up really quickly. Right to my desktop. And let me find the file. There we go. So when this opens up, unless Murphy has struck me again, which would be pretty surprising in the template world here, is that if it has data, Murphy struck, but it should not have data. And that's just, a great way to be able to distribute this report without having to worry about the data and who has access to it. Now, it's going to not run here because these are samples and we've configured it right with certain things in the background here, but you get the idea. No data, right? Nothing in here. There you go. So that's a great way to distribute a report if you are concerned about the data and the people that are receiving it may not or should not have access to the data, then do it as a template. Okay. So back to the question, does the template have a connection to the data? Yes, and I'm sorry, I should have showed that, is that even though the data is not there, the connection in that to the data is still in the report file. So the listed tables in that were over here. You'd have to go and just do a reconnect, right, to the data, actual data source. Put in your own user ID and password, and therefore you're now basically only seeing the data you have access to. Hope that all made sense. I know that's a lot. Sorry. We have some more questions. We'll go ahead and send out an email follow-up. We're right at 2 o'clock, and I want to be respectful of everybody's time, so we'll wrap up here. Thank you so much for joining. Actually, there was one more question. I hate to leave any questions out there.
There's one, Dave. Why don't you? Yeah, get that one.
How do we keep automatically refreshing our data? That's an excellent question. Thank you, Tom. You guys are so awesome to join all these training sessions, and hopefully you're getting value out of all these trainings. Basically, that happens when you publish it to Power BI online. And let me just give you a really quick example. I always like to do visuals. And let me go in.
You did. So I think Dave lost audio. I don't know if that crashed the whole session or not because he's the one hosting today, but give him a moment if you're interested in sticking around. And Tom, if for some reason it does close out, we will definitely get you the answer to that question. But in a nutshell, what you do is you publish your desktop report in Power BI online, and we'll cover that in the level 2 training. And from there is settings where you can set it to automatically refresh, and you can also do subscribe and create alerts and things like that. So today's session was just getting started, kind of the basics, but we'll definitely get into this more robust capabilities. And Tom, we can definitely follow up with you with a more detailed answer. I think Dave might be back on.
I am back, I think.
I think I answered the question verbally, but I didn't show them anything, though.
I heard on the other machine I keep running here to monitor the live presentation. Did a great job. So exactly. So you essentially just go into, you publish the report from the desktop version, right, to Power BI online. And then when you go into Power BI online, you would be able to go and set up your data source refresh schedule. And I'll show you that really quickly, Tom, if you're still on with us. Just going to go into Power BI online. Okay, so you published your report through Power BI desktop. It's going to publish into a workspace that you choose. Then when you come in to Power BI online, go to the workspace that you published the report to and look for the data set. Okay, so the data set here, I can go in now and I can set a refresh frequency on this data set. You can do that for every different data set. You can do it independently. So let me just work through that again. I'm going to go to my workspace. I'll pick any data set in here like this one. And you can refresh it manually just by clicking on the refresh now icon. Or if you do the 3 dots and go to settings, down here you'll see scheduled refresh. And all you do is turn that on, give it a frequency, tell it who to alert when there's failures, which I highly recommend your IT team. Hopefully they have a team-based support email like we do here at Strava. That way, they're always monitoring that, and that's what they do every day. Now, this isn't working because my credentials had expired, but once I put my right credentials in, you'd be able to go set the refresh on that. So thanks, Tom. Thanks for the question. Really appreciate you guys' involvement here in our trainings. And with that, we will wrap up. Thank you so much, Michelle, for the great presentation. Thank you, everyone, for joining. This will be published up to the LevelUP e-learning hub, and you'll get an email indicating once that's been done. So hopefully you've got some value out of today's session. I know I did. I learned a few things. So thank you again for joining. I hope everybody has a great day and an awesome weekend. Take care, and we'll talk next month.